Just to let you know, we're going to do that holiday parade again. If you want to, I don't know if you and the choir want to do that.
Okay, I'll talk to them.
It's going to be on the Saturday, December 4th. We have that 48-foot trailer. We'll have Santa on board.
Okay.
We have this boom box right here.
Okay.
And we can, see if they're interested in doing that.
Okay. December 4th.
December 4th, Saturday, December 4th.
It's me driving.
Who's you?
Jill.
Hi, Jill.
I can't see, but I've got to just listen.
Hi, Jill.
Hey, I'm going to just listen, but I can't see to turn off my video.
No worries. Don't worry about that. Hey,
All right.
isn't it crazy how dark it's getting so early?
Oh, I know. I don't like that. I don't like that.
I hate driving in the dark. I hate it.
I do too.
The older I get, the harder it is to drive in the dark.
I know.
That's nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, mainly to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
Looking to get back in your type 2 diabetes zone? Ask your healthcare provider today about once weekly Ozempic.
$25 for a 3-month prescription.
Two more ask for records related to
Okay, there you go. Well, how come I can see you? Well, how? You hung up on her. No.
Hey, if you all can hear us, we're going to go ahead and mute everybody until such time as it's time for questions. That's okay with everybody, to avoid any sort of feedback issues that we're having. Good. As you all come on, I'm just letting you know that we're muting everybody until such time as we're open for questions.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay, hi everybody. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Grateful to see everybody. Some folks are eating dinner. Others look like you're taking care of children. Others are maybe getting ready to wind down your night. So wherever you find yourself, know that I'm grateful that you have made time to be here tonight to talk a little bit. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
To talk a little bit about stewardship. As many of you all know, we had our first round of talks last week, and they went well. They were outside. It was a little bit chaotic, a little crazy, but we made it through, and we had the scouts meeting right behind us, so it made for a very lively night. But it was good, and I don't know if any of you all are noticing, but these two fireside chats are going to be bookending several stewardship talks that I'll be giving via our weekly e-news that comes out on Friday. So I'm going to kind of give the state of the church tonight, and then this past week and the week before last, I spoke to stewardship on the weekly email. So I hope everybody is signed up for that, the email, so that you can listen to those videos and be encouraged, as well as think about what I'm asking you. So is everybody settled in? Everybody ready to get started? Okay, and I think Ed said, you know, once question time comes up, he'll open up the floor and everybody can talk. I would like to first of all say that we had, I think, a really great year last year, this year in regards to the church. One of the things that is kind of surfacing for us as a church is this movement from stewardship being a once a year, 6 weeks out of the year kind of event, to Grace being a church that does stewardship year round. And what I mean by that is that we don't, and we're not looking for just one time a year for people to give, or for people to donate their time, or for people to live into their baptismal covenant. We are asking the people of Grace to do this all year round. And so the precepts that I have kind of in my mind in order for that to happen is the notion that at all times, thank you, we are a church that says yes. And so when you are out with your friends, or when you are speaking to others about our church, about Grace, that is one of the things that I would be super proud of if you were to offer this to others, is that we are a church that says yes. In fact, while I was in the pumpkin patch last month, there were 2 different times with 2 different folks from Grace who I overheard in conversation tell people who have never been to Grace that we are a church that does say yes. And I was super proud of those parishioners who were able to, right off of their tongue, just say, that is what Grace is. We are also a church that is guided by 2 principles that I probably talk way too much about. Those things that Jesus taught again and again, the first commandment and the second commandment. And would anybody like to tell me, unmute yourself and tell me what those are? The first commandment is what?
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself.
That is right. Thank you, Aubrey. So those 2 principles, those commandments that Jesus taught, are also at the core of my theology as a priest, and I think core to who we are as a church at Grace. We are also a church that is living into those 2 commandments by way of what we call holy experiments. meaning we are always endeavoring to try new things and to experiment in ways that we recognize as people of God. We are not mess ups, therefore we really don't mess up. We liken it to say there are holy yeses, and if the word holy is in front of something, it's never going to be a failure. So holy failures will come, but we like to say instead, it's just another opportunity to readjust, pivot, and try something else. The other thing that I think is really important to remember is that we're not a church that just meets on Sunday. We are a church that is doing something either for her people or for the community every single day of the week. And so we find ways to help our neighbors as well as our community every single day because we have discerned that Grace is a place of refuge for a lot of people. It is a sanctuary for a lot of people. It is a place that I don't know how people find their way to, but they do. And when they find their way to us, we don't turn them away, but we do our best to try and help them. So all of this is kind of core, I think, to what it means, what stewardship means. And essentially, as many of you all are probably aware of, stewardship just means taking care of something that isn't yours. It's not something, again, that we do once a year. It is something that we try to do day in and day out. And if any of you all, as you know, when you step foot on the campus at Grace, I hope it's clear. I hope you can see how this is lived out practically every single day. One of the things that is core to at least my beliefs about stewardship is Grace is never going to be a storehouse. I don't believe in hoarding. I don't believe in keeping more than what's needed. My philosophy for all of our ministry is really what comes in must go out. And we can be a caretaker for things, but in no way are we going to hoard and keep things to ourselves when we know by practicality how there are so many people in need. And it is our job to continue the flow of God, the economy of God, and keep things moving in the way that it needs to move. And it is only through your faithful and generous giving are we able to do that. We can't do the ministries at Grace. We can't do them. We can't help our community unless her members, you all, do your part in giving. And that means giving of your time, giving of your resources, giving back what God has already given, because in essence, we are not owners of anything. We are merely caretakers for what he has bestowed upon us in immeasurable ways. Okay, that's stewardship in a nutshell. Everybody on board? If so, raise your hand. And if not, we can have a time of explanation. Okay, everybody good? Great. Okay. So one of the ways that I think Grace does this well is through the formation of her people into disciples of Jesus Christ. And how do we do that? Well, first and foremost, number one, we meet for worship every single week. And I'm one of those priests who tells people my expectation, my hope is for the people of Grace to be in church more than once a month, more than twice a month. I want you there all the time. I know that's not possible, but that is what I want. I want people to be in church every Sunday, if at all possible, just because I think we as disciples of Jesus need that. We need to be fed and we need to be in communion around one another, encouraging and helping one another. And so we've made a number of ways to make that happen, primarily through worship. And as you all know, we are now streaming live from right at the start of COVID, never having done online worship, to, in a matter of 1 week, moving into online worship, which is now fed into Facebook, as well as a YouTube channel. And just last week, we jumped the gun on one of our 2022 goals and made the sermons that I preach every week available on iTunes as well as Spotify. So those are just different avenues by which to get the message of grace out and to hopefully be a blessing to not just in-house grace folks, but the extended grace family who maybe aren't in church every Sunday. I think we've done a phenomenal job of adjusting in a pandemic. And I am hopeful and delighted that maybe we are on our way of moving out of that, although I know we're not clearly out of the woods yet. But I do want others to know that we are now taking the host, and we are also taking wine at Eucharist. We're doing that by intention, but those are all movements towards back to how things used to be, which should be an encouragement to everyone. We continue to provide opportunities for worship and learning throughout the week. I continue to teach a Tuesday Bible study. We meet for Wednesday noonday prayer around the world. We have church in the streets on Thursday with our mobile food pantry. And as far as engaging the community with our blessing box and blessing fridge, if you've spent any time in the office, you know that it's a constant flow of people and cars on our campus. And so lots of interactions and lots of opportunities that I'm not sure if most churches of this size get to experience, let alone engage in day after day after day. One of the things that I'm really proud of is over the last year, we were able to call a youth minister. Craig Harland agreed to be our lay youth minister, and the work that he's doing with our youth through time being spent in the blessing box, packing bags for the blessing box, as well as cleaning the refrigerator and being extra hands and feet to help with that, as well as just the community that's formed amongst our youth, has been invaluable. And Craig has done this on a completely volunteer basis. And our children continue to benefit from Aubrey's leadership. As many of you all know, 2 weeks ago, we had 4 baby baptisms that took place at Grace, which was just a glorious day. I jokingly said this was every priest's dream to have a day like 2 Sundays ago, in which there were 2 baby boys and 2 little girls who were baptized all together. 3 of those sets of parents actually grew up here at Grace, and it was their children that were being baptized at Grace just like they had been. So it was a very meaningful day, and I know that Aubrey will be able to continue her work as children's minister with these new families. In the coming year, it is my hope that we will transition back to 2 worship services. Hopefully we will be able to transition back to an 8 o'clock service and move our service back to 10:30 and assume a regular rotation of worship, 8 o'clock being the right 1 service and 10:30 being the right 2 service. As you all know, right now we are oscillating weeks between right 1 and right 2. So those folks who are endeared to whatever form of worship that they want to worship in are able to come on the weeks when whatever right they want is offered. I would be remiss to say our worship is not greatly enhanced by the beautiful playing by Paul that he does every single week. In addition, it has been a blessing for Bill to join him in worship, and also for them to bring their little kiddos, Clyde and Aaron, who just were such a blessing to us while they were with us. And we are so grateful for Paul and his continued ministry at Grace. So one of our, I think, maybe the biggest impact that we have on our community is our weekly mobile food pantry and church in the street. And at this time, Ed, would you like to kind of bring everybody up to speed on how that ministry is doing, please?
Let me unmute myself. Okay. Well, as you all probably know, we're coming up on the second anniversary of our mobile food pantry, which really was an outgrowth of the box that we have across the street, and it became a bigger box when the mobile food pantry started to arrive. Well, here's what I'd like to tell you. Since December 6th of 2019 until the end of December this year, we are forecasting that we will have distributed 1,050,000 pounds of food just through the mobile food pantry. We really haven't been keeping track of the volume of food that we put out every single day in the blessing box and the blessing fridge, but we do know that the combined community impact of the mobile food pantry and the blessing box and fridge is 2,000 people per week being fed. So that doesn't happen really without this army of volunteers that shows up every Thursday. And they're not all Grace folks, but that's why we call it Church in the Street, because we have these volunteers who show up just as if it were church. And then on top of that, we have another army of volunteers who show up 7 days a week to fill the blessing box, blessing fridge. I guess I have to, there, you know, some of them are with us this evening. Susie and Steph are the captains of the blessing box, blessing fridge team. Susie's the most incredible shopper. If there's a deal out there to be had, it doesn't matter if it's at Aldi or the only place I don't know you've been to is La Michoacana, but maybe you should try there. Anyway, she finds the most incredible deals. Mother Suzanne gets donations that just kind of like fall. We're out of something, and lo and behold, the next day she gets a check for $500. Susie, is that true? Anyway, she's thumbs up. That's true. So really, it's become, we have a group of neighbors who are experiencing homelessness that several of us know. Mother Suzanne and I, and Ginny knows, and anybody who's volunteering in the office, they know these folks that come by. They have certain things, you know, this one likes milk, this one wants some bologna, this one wants some peanut butter. And it's just, you know, literally to think that this little church that, you know, before the pandemic had an average Sunday attendance of 85, feeds 2,000 people a week, and you multiply that times a year, it's really remarkable. So anyway, there you go.
Thank you, Ed. Just so that everybody knows, the blessing box and fridge ministry, the need is so great. At one time, we were able to fill it once a day. We are now filling it twice a day. And most mornings when I arrive, or when Ed arrives, or the first person gets here, the box is pretty much cleaned out, as well as the refrigerator. So literally we are starting fresh every single day because nothing is left. We have between 65 and 100 cars that come through here every single day. So the campus is a really busy place. And I just would like to say, Ed hinted towards it, but at one time, my discretionary account funded all of these ministries. And it was my goal every month to spend whatever I got down to zero. I just felt it was the right thing to do. Whatever I was given, I wanted to give it back, and I had no reason to keep it. Well, now we are finding that my discretionary account is not having to carry the bulk of maintaining this ministry, because people are now giving to it. We have received $1,500 from the Shepherd's Nook through Good Shepherd Episcopal Church, and that was headed up by Susie Crater. Anna Rendell applied for a grant from the Episcopal Seniors Foundation, and first time she applied, she was granted the grant in the amount of $10,000 for work with seniors. And in addition, we just found out that we received $5,000 from the Episcopal Church Women for continued efforts with our food ministry. And at the beginning of the year, the Episcopal Diocese of Texas granted us with a $10,000 grant for our mobile food pantry efforts. It allowed us to buy our big fridge, which now enables us to store food and store lots of it that we can then give away. In addition, I would just like to say a shout out to Ed Corrett, because he has really strengthened the bonds that we now have with the Alvin Food Pantry. We are now going and getting food from them about 3 times a week. And used to, all of that food that we are now getting, they would just dump into a dumpster because they didn't have the room to store it and they didn't know what to do with it. Hundreds and probably thousands of pounds of food just being thrown away because they didn't have a place or people to give it to. They offer 1 day a week where they give food away, but now that our bonds are strengthened, whenever they have food, they call us and we go and get it. And then we are able then to give that away by way of our blessing box and our blessing refrigerator. So thank you, Ed, for your tireless work with the Alvin Food Pantry. In addition, the Harbor Church in Friendswood continues to be a wonderful neighbor and friend to Grace. They collect food for us, and I'm talking really good food. Rich people in Friendswood who must have a lot of disposable income, because whenever we get food from them, it is like jackpot. It's wonderful. They give and give and give. It's all name brand. It's all wonderful, and it allows us to stock our pantry even more. So all we have to do is say, call Mindy over at the Harbor and say, we need for you to collect food, and she does it like that. It's really tremendous, the partnering that we've done with them as well. So all of that to say, like Ed said, we're feeding around 2,000 people every single week are being fed through our mobile food pantry, blessing box and fridge. And as you all recall, we had a mural built on the side of this building this past year, which is an homage to the work that we do here with Jesus breaking the bread and the fish to remind us always what Grace stands for in our community. We are a church that feeds, and we are a church that blesses those who most have forgotten about. And I will also put a plug in. We are always in need of volunteers. And so if your heart wants to help, and if it's not doing so already, please know that we want you to be a part. The next part of stewarding what God has given to us is our campus. And as many of you all know, in short, for me as a priest, it feels like our campus has taken a real beating this year. And I don't mean that lightly. It really has. It's been a very difficult year for the structures on our campus. Between the winter freeze and February, the rats destroying the bellows of the pipe organ. We had a lightning strike, which took out the motherboard of our pipe organ. The sound system, the sound motherboard was taken out, as well as all the lights in the nave. Y'all, one of those things is a big deal, but to have all of it happen basically at one time, including the destruction of a parish hall, it has been a year I hope we never have again. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to sign up to say yes to Grace if I have to be a priest who keeps doing these kinds of things. I'm kidding, but it really has been a lot. Thankfully, a lot of this has been covered by insurance. And one of the things Grace can proudly say in our parish hall, we no longer have asbestos. That has all been removed at the tune of $115,000, which thankfully we did not have to pay for. But we are an asbestos-free parish hall building, which I'm not sure if many churches of our age can say, but we can now. Thankfully, we just learned. In fact, I just received the church reimbursement checks for the damage that was done to the pipe organ. And so we are now on the list for the church or the organ diocesan organ man to fix our motherboard of our pipe organ. So hopefully in the new year, hallelujah, praise the Lord, thank you, Jesus, we'll have a pipe organ. Okay. So, and all of that's being covered by insurance. We don't have to do any more tamale fundraisers for our pipe organ, which is a very good thing. One of the other things that has been a blessing is to see how many in our community, as well as many of our church members, have rallied around in making the campus better this year. I don't know if you guys know, we now have leaf guards in our gutters because our gutters were such a mess with all of the trees. Huey Cowles was able to get those installed in the last month or so. We had an Eagle Scout, Grace and Singer, come and refurbish our picnic benches, as well as build 2 brand new beautiful benches for our campus. And so even in the midst of the crazy year that we've had and the beating our campus has taken, there's been a lot of goodness, and there's been a lot of beautiful things that continue to happen on the campus of Grace. Just so you guys are mindful, we now own the house across the street from the pavilion, the White House on the corner. That is a hair salon, Sammy's Hair Salon. We now own that. It was gifted to us by an old family of Grace. And so we are in the process of discerning what we are to do with that particular building. We were accepted into the Holy Currencies program through the Episcopal Health Foundation. We just finished our curriculum up. It was for 12 weeks. And we are still in the process of deciding what is the best way to use that particular building. But for me, what is priority is getting our parish hall refurbished. And so Jim Thompson, I'm going to call on you now, if you don't mind, to give us an update on the parish hall remodel, as well as the state of the church's finances, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. We are in high gear and remodel. We have put the church parish hall back together as much as we could over the last 6 months. And then we decided we needed to do some upgrades to the 1953 structure. The city came in and found a lot of non-code compliant construction issues that go back all the way to 1953, some of them, that all need to be fixed. And we're in the process of one by one fixing all the little punch list items that they've picked up on. We've enlarged the kitchen. We've moved the nursery temporarily to the parlor, and the ultimate destination of the parlor is going to be the old church Sunday school room. The old priest office is now going to be a storage room, and the blue room is going to be a bridal room for, hopefully, for some of our future rental of the parish hall. The parish hall is getting a new ceiling. The kitchen is getting a new ceiling, and the expanded kitchen is getting a new ceiling, all lay-in ceiling, equivalent to what you can find at the office. It was previously a hard surface ceiling. It'll be a state-of-the-art ceiling structure in that building. Additionally, we have a deck on the outside. We have a handicap restroom that's in service. We have 3 new ramps on the parish hall for handicap. It's becoming a state-of-the-art facility. Financials. We had a tough year with expenses, as Mother Suzanne detailed previously. However, you've been very faithful and we have been able to remain fully open throughout this year. Our total income is estimated to be $240,000, and our budget was $226,000. Our total expected expenses are estimated to be $305,000, and our budget is $329,000. So we're under budget. Our parishioner numbers are growing in the face of the pandemic, and we are thriving and working well together. We now have an 8-member finance committee, and we meet fairly frequently. There are always new ideas and work being carried out to improve our financial status, and we have a lot of great minds working together. We also have a new legacy program on our website, which we encourage parishioners to support. You have been very good to us this year, and with your financial and moral support, it has been a great year. We prayerfully hope you will continue to support Grace with your financial contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, JT. And for those of you that don't know, Jim is rolling off the vestry in a few months, and he has graciously accepted to continue his time as treasurer. And you've done such a fine job, Jim. I'm grateful that you said yes again. To piggyback on what Jim did say, one of the things when meeting with the diocese, especially the last couple of years through the Vitality cohort, one of the things that the diocese continues to communicate to me is that Grace is a thriving church. And they are basically in awe of how a church our size has done and does so much for the community. Churches 2 and 3 times the size of Grace, and 2 and 3 times the membership of Grace won't attempt to do what we do, let alone carry out week in and week out. The canon for Mission AMP, Joanne Sailors, has basically said we are the textbook example for the diocese about what revitalization in a church looks like. And so I think that's something to be super proud of, because we never set out to be that, but somehow by the grace of God, it has snowballed into something much bigger than I could have ever thought or imagined it could be, only by the grace of God, and only because you, as church members, continue to say yes. It is exciting to be a part of a church that is thriving and growing. And I think it's probably fair to say, and can I just see a show of hands if you would agree, that Grace is vital to the community of Alvin. You know, we are not just a church on a busy street. We are a church that people depend upon. We are a church that people, again, seek refuge in and receive sanctuary from. People continue to make their way to Grace week in and week out. We continue to have visitors. Part of my job as the priest is thinking about retention, especially in regards to newer folks who have come to Grace. How do we kind of embrace them and gobble them up so that they feel a part of the community? We will be working, I will be, more intentional, thinking of ways to be able to do that in a better way in the coming year. But I think one of the things that we do well at Grace is, first of all, we see people, and secondly, we love them, and we love them well, and we embrace them when they do come. And I think we take really good care of our members. When I think back over the last year with Janae Andrade and Laura Tate and their road back to healing and recovery, and how both of these women have said again and again and again how grateful they have been for the support that their church has given to them. It is a humbling thing to know that we've been a part of bringing them back to health. And I firmly believe that with all of my heart. The prayers and the devotion of Grace and her members have helped heal these 2 women. And that is humbling and that is awe-inspiring. I would like to say that as we have finished our Pumpkin Patch 2021, we had a really great year. Perhaps more than just making money. One of the things that occurred to me in a very deeply meaningful way this year was just how this truly is a gift to our community that we offer year after year after year for families of Alvin to come and be with their children and loved ones in a space that is what I kept hearing again and again. It's a small pumpkin patch. It's easy to bring little kids to. They don't feel overwhelmed in, and it's just a sweet experience. And so I think that's something really to be proud of. Thanks be to God for the help of the Mormon missionaries. As odd as it may sound for an Episcopal priest to say that in some way, I do believe these young men and women are part of the fold at Grace. I don't know if they would take it. I don't know if they would owe up to it, but I believe in my heart that they are, because the work they do for Grace and her people is remarkable. And they have taken part in all of our big fundraisers, as well as our big back to school event, the fish fry, as well as our pumpkin patch. One more thing, I would be remiss to say if I did not mention we had something exciting happen. We had the reinstatement of the Daughters of the King chapter that has been lying dormant for a number of years. The Dame Julian of Norwich chapter of the DOK began again, and folks, ladies from down in Angleton came to show their support as the ladies here in Alvin rededicated themselves to this chapter. And that was a very moving time and experience for me, as well as the support and prayer that I have received, as well as Grace has received because of these efforts. So thank you, Charlie, for heading that up, and also to Nan for her help as chaplain with this newly rededicated chapter of the DOK. All right. Have we any questions that I have not covered? Yes, Katie, go for it.
Not really a question, just two things I want to say. Speaking of healing and the magic of the love that comes from the church, this recovery from this back surgery I've had, it's been really tough. And in any kind of recovery, and I know my recovery is in no way trying to compare to what Janae and Laura went through, because it's apples and oranges. But there's good days and bad days. And on two of the worst, I've gotten 3 cards from the church, and 2 of them came on 2 of my really bad recovery days in the first 2 weeks after surgery. Sign the cards. It means a lot. And then something to you, Suzanne, you said something about how I know how bad this last year's been, and I don't know if I'd have signed up for it, blah, blah, blah. Well, think that maybe God put you in this church because he knew you would be the one to lead us through the year we've just had.
Thank you.
And I thank you for that.
Oh,
and I hope to be an active member again, hopefully in December. I can start coming again probably in December, but I can't like acolyte till probably January or February, because he did say 3 months recovery and it's only been a month. So, but that's it. I just want to say those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, very, very much. Charlie, can I call on you and just could you speak just for a few moments about what it's been like to have the DOK chapter reinstated?
We started with only Nan and myself, and we did all the work to, the framework for bringing the chapter back in. And we had several women rededicate in August, and we're planning a discernment class to start in January. Hopefully we can double the size of the chapter through that discernment class. We're looking forward to it. Right now we're participating in a program for the diocese daughters called Personalities, where we have taken old purses and filled them with things that women who are escaping domestic violence or who are homeless and going into a shelter would need. personal care items, sanitary supplies, nail kits, some snack stuff, just things like that. And we will have that in gathering on the 12th of December. And then we'll present them to the Brazoria County Women's Center after that week. So it's been a blessing, and we hope to continue good work for quite some time.
Thank you, Charlie, so much. Susie Crater, could you come off mute for just a minute and speak to, okay, you can't.
Unmute. There you go.
Could you
Yeah,
just speak to our pantry efforts and what you have noticed in the last year about what that's like as our main shopper?
Oh, wow. Everything that comes in goes out. So whenever anybody brings anything on Sunday, you can be sure it goes to the blessing box and it's going to go out. And yeah, it's been amazing that there's so much that the congregation has done that we can keep this blessing box going every day. And now, like you were saying, twice a day. Ooh, my job just got a little bit harder, but that's okay.
Yes, it's true. It is a full-time job,
But that's okay.
Yeah, it's great. It is great. And like Ed said, because of your astuteness as a shopper, our money goes a lot further than what it ever.
Thank you, Lord, for HEB. Who would have thought that they were going to be our best one?
Yes, that's true.
And everything that they make is in Texas, so I have no problem with the supply chain.
That's great. That's really
we'll be getting HEB for a long time.
Okay. Thank you again, Susie, for all of your work.
No problem.
Mary Smith.
We even have a new volunteer who started last week, Irene.
Yes.
Who's not even a member of our church. She just showed. She started out with the mobile food pantry, and now she comes coming. I don't know what her day is, but she's coming.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to say one more thing. A very short story. When we went out west last month, and we were in Utah, and I went into some place to get a water, and a young girl was behind me. It was a cashier, and she said, "I like your fingernails," because they were blue and orange for the Astros. And I said, "Oh, it's the Astros." And she said, "I love the Astros." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yes, I did my Mormon mission."
Oh.
She was a Mormon, did her mission in East Houston.
Oh.
And I said, "Let me tell you about your friends down south." So I told her about everybody in Alvin. And she said, "Oh, I'll bet it's somebody I know," because she was very young. So there was somebody in Provo, Utah, that was blessing us, and and the mission that they did. So
that's awesome. Really, really cool. Mary Smith, what about you as senior warden? What thoughts do you have?
A lot of gratitude that we have made it. Looks like we're coming out of the pandemic. I love hearing that we'll be going back to 2 services, and I love seeing so many new faces in the midst of the pandemic. Suzanne alluded to that she didn't, I don't know, I've been on 2 Zooms with her today. I'm trying to think if she said it on this one or the other one. That we don't, a lot of churches didn't see new faces during the pandemic, or we don't think they did. We know they didn't, because the church that we partner with on the pandemic, they're always just amazed that we say we picked up new people during the pandemic. And feel a lot of gratitude for that. Gratitude for all the food ministries that we do. I remember a time when we did not have an impact on our community other than offering worship services, and it wasn't that far in our past. And so I just have a whole lot of gratitude for that. And just very, very grateful for you and your leadership and your ministry, and that you have, because you say yes, that you've taught us to say yes, and just continue to be very grateful for you. And I agree with Katie that
Here, here.
you at the right time for Grace.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I think and I was going to say, I think Suzanne is here because of that situation. So that's just my opinion. She might not like it, but
Well,
doing the best you can.
yeah, thank you. And I think that is what the bishop said over and over at clergy conference, was this notion of just what he has seen with priests is just exhaustion. And, guiding people through this time, at a spiritual level, at a heart level, as well as leading people through a pandemic in a church setting. He just kept saying again and again, it's exhausting work. And he sees his clergy as being tired, as we all are, right? And it's no different for us as priests either. But I think, like Mary alluded to, hopefully the light is at the end of the tunnel. And I would never be able to do any of this without the help of so many. And my staff has been wonderful, as well as the volunteers in the office. So I'm the one that's really, really grateful, really thankful. Okay, this Sunday, everybody, I want y'all to be mindful. We are going to have a cross-cultural preaching holy experiment going on. I'm going to be preaching in London, and Father John Burniston is going to be preaching here at Grace Alvin. He is rector of St. James Islington in central London, so we are going to be swapping pulpits. And we would like to do this at least twice a year. So on the last day of Pentecost, Christ the King Sunday, you guys are going to be hearing an English accent in church. I hope y'all are ready for that.
It was really cool. It was really cool the last time y'all did that. That was just amazing.
So it's happening again this Sunday. So I'll be, me and my Texas accent will be in London, and Father John will be here with his English.
And that'll be broadcast over the Facebook. Okay,
yep.
Good.
It will be. Yes, it will be. And then what does that mean? 1 week later, if it's the last Sunday of Pentecost this week, we are starting a new church year.
Advent, yay!
Yes, we are moving into the season of Advent. And on the heels of Advent, we will move into the holy season of the Nativity and Christmas time. So I can't believe it's already that time again. It's unbelievable, but it sure has come quickly. So thank you all again. I don't think I have anything else to say. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I want to thank Ed for that update on the food truck, because it's hard to believe it's been 2 years. Seems like yesterday to me. But then all the things that have happened since it's just bizarre. I mean, 1 million?
Yes, 1 million.
Really?
Yes.
So
yes.
That ought to be on the front of the Alvin newspaper. Yeah. So
Jim, can you
and
talk
not just because not for just for us. I mean, it's to let everybody know what we're doing and that they can participate too. So it's great. And thank you, Ed.
Yes. And one of the things I think that has made this event so special is the ecumenical nature in which it has kind of blossomed into, members of so many different churches who show up and who participate week in and week out. And part of our job, those who help put it on every week, is just to provide hospitality and love so that our volunteers want to come back. And this is a place that they look forward to again and again and again. I was trying to count. I think we've had close to 60 Mormon missionaries kind of cycle out over the last 2 years. And consistently what they say is Thursday Mobile Food Pantry is the highlight of their week. This is the day that they love more than any other day of the week, which speaks volume. On Monday, I was in a diner on my day off in Clute, Texas, and I walk in and I see a table full of very handsome young men. And then I look a little bit closer.
And you knew exactly who they were.
Yes. And one of our Mormon missionaries who has faithfully served at the Mobile Food Pantry, Mason, was there with his new band of brothers who are all serving in Clute, Texas. And so,
wow,
Provo, Utah, Clute, Texas, you just never know where you might find these young men and women. Just outstanding. And we are blessed to have them.
that's fantastic.
Small world. Okay, well, can I, if there aren't any other questions, I don't want to keep us for longer than what we need to do.
I have a backstory. Could I add a backstory?
Of course.
So one thing, we talk about it being every Thursday. There's an effort that goes on all throughout the week that people may not be aware of, and that's that Kelly Krennick, it started out being Lupe Ramirez was our box guy, and he would go to all the grocery stores and get us our boxes. But when Lupe took ill, Kelly Krennick and along with Ed Whitaker have been doing our boxes. We have so many boxes now that just this past week, I contacted Ruth Dietz, who was our original sponsor for the Mobile Food Pantry. And I said, do you need any boxes? And she said, yeah, I could use some boxes. So she came over the other day and got like 60 boxes for their upcoming Mobile Food Pantry. So it's like gone full circle. We have this team of people that basically, I think it's 5 days a week. They go out to the grocery stores and they get the boxes to make sure that we have 140 or 150 box. Well, no, it's 210 boxes because we also distribute to you all know, I didn't mention this to you, but we actually deliver to 70 homebound people every week. We started out way back when with 7, and Mother Suzanne and I loaded them in the back of Ed's Ford Escape and delivered them. And now Johnita Turner I see Johnita there hiding in the background. She is the queen of the deliveries. And there's Charlie Merchant, who's like her sidekick on Thursdays, making that happen. That is an unbelievable ministry in and of itself. People who can't get out of their home, that are stuck in their home, not necessarily because of COVID, but simply because they can't move. They can't move around.
What Ed said, and that is an amazing ministry in of itself.
Yeah. So I apologize for not highlighting that. That in and of itself, the first mobile food pantry that we did on December 6th of 2019, I think we had 80 people show up. So we're now delivering. We have this team of volunteers who drive and go into people's homes and drop off these boxes. We're delivering to as many people as we did our first mobile food pantry.
Wow, yeah.
It's amazing. It's so cool. Well, on Sunday, everybody, please pick up.
Oh, I got one more thing. Before the pledge card. I want to thank the youth of this community for instinctively knowing what to do. You don't have to tell them. They see it. They do it. These kids are great. We should all be as smart and cunning, to do the Lord's work as they are. It was just, they're just absolutely wonderful. So that's me.
Awesome. So true. and headed up by their leader, Craig Harland, who was in here with Mary stuffing the blessing box and fridge. Even in the dark, they were doing it for a community who is dependent upon it. Thank you. All right, this is a pledge card. Do y'all see that? And if you call Grace your spiritual home, it is my expectation that you will be filling out one of these. I will too. Tell me what you would like to pledge in your time, your talents, and your gifts to Grace so that we can continue on with the ministries that God has put before us, that we know we are engaged with and actively are happening in our midst. Y'all, these are not things that we are theorizing about or having conversations about one day being able to do. Grace is a place where heaven, the kingdom of God, is present. And we are loving our neighbors and we are loving God in so many different ways. And it is only through your time, talents, and gifts that we are able to do this. So prayerfully consider, if you have given in the past, think about maybe increasing your pledge. If you have never pledged before, think about what it means to sacrificially give something to God and to your church. I promise you, you will not regret giving. That's just how giving works. You don't regret when you give. You are always blessed when you do give and you step out in faith. And so I encourage everyone to think about that. Grab a pledge card on Sunday and turn those in the season of Advent, if you would. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Good and loving God, we give you thanks for the innumerable blessings that you bestow upon us, your children. We thank you for this sacred time to reflect on what the life of this parish has been like over the last year, and the gift that Grace is to Alvin, to this community, and to so many people who are in such great need. We are grateful, Lord, for all of the people that you have brought here to carry out your ministries. We continue to pray that you would inspire and lead us in the coming year. We pray for boldness and courage, and we pray for stamina and strength as we continue to love well those that you have given us to love. God, may we hold very close to our hearts your commandment to love you and to love our neighbor as ourselves. May we never forget that. In this prayer that you have taught us to pray, let us say it boldly now. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So may the Lord bless you, and may he keep you this night, and may he cause his gracious face to shine upon you this day and always until we meet again. Amen. Thank you all.